All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Bluff Planning and Zoning Regular Commission meeting. Tonight is Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. It is 6:02 p.m. and we're meeting virtually. Let's go ahead and start with a roll call of Planning and Zoning Commissioners. I will go first. This is Amanda Podmore.
Ed Dobson.
I'm not sure if I'm official anymore, but Malyssa Egge, is this the official handing off of the baton?
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, Melissa. Thanks.
I guess then I'll say I'm Brian Whitney.
Ooh, welcome, Brian. All right.
Malia here. Malia Collins.
Thanks, Malia. And Kathleen, for the record, Marcia Haydenfeld has an excused absence this evening. Now, Town Council.
Luann Hook.
Thank you. And Town Manager.
Aaron Nelson.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. We're going to go ahead and start with approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was March 15th. So let me get that up on the screen. And let me make it a little bigger. Okay. Oh, Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to double check if I have the ability to like motion or not motion or vote or not vote in this meeting. Just curious like where that stands officially, and I'm happy to participate in whatever capacity that is, even just listening. Thanks.
How about, would you mind like abstaining on things through the end of the meeting?
Will do. Thanks so much for the guidance.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll through the meeting minutes. Please let me know if you have any thoughts. Melissa, you just abstaining on votes, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say, but you're welcome to weigh in on minutes and things like, and issues and things like that. I'm not seeing any comments on the minutes. Anybody have any comments, concerns, or changes?
Nope, I read through them earlier and I think that they look great.
Alrighty.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second by Ed Dobson. Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes from 3:15, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any abstentions?
Malyssa Egge, abstaining.
Okay, any noes? Okay. All right, minutes approved. Let me stop sharing. And now we have a chance for folks to give a public comment. We have up to 3 minutes per person if you'd like to share something. Aaron, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Erin Nelson, and I will speak as a resident of the community, not in my official capacity as town manager, although I do echo this in my official capacity. I just wanted to thank Malyssa Egge for her years of service on planning and zoning. I fully recognize the time commitment that is put in for all of you. It's very much appreciated, and it's such a necessary public service. I recognize that you all have had a lot of learning over the last almost 5 years now. But I want to say from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate it. I appreciate, Brian volunteering, but just a huge thanks to Malyssa for all of her time and effort. It should not have been the same without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
You're here.
So what she just said, that's been great, Melissa. We've appreciated your insight on all the things.
I will echo that as well. Melissa was a founding commission member with us and has been here through all the hard talks, kept us asking the right questions, and kept us accountable to the community. So thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I look forward to passing this on. Thank you all for continuing the work.
Thanks. Oh, thanks, Melissa. Anybody else have a comment they'd like to share?
Do we have a time to welcome Brian? Because I'd also like to thank him for joining.
It's technically on the agenda, which is why I didn't
Okay.
do it yet, which is awkward. But
And you're echoing a lot.
yeah. Ed, do you mind if I mute you again, like we did last time?
I am muted, but I'll go back on muted. I just took myself off as you spoke. I'll go back on.
I might have to do that double mute thing. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to close public comment for tonight, and why don't we just reorder the agenda under old business and start with the welcome to Brian Whitney. So Brian is the new Planning and Zoning Commissioner. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. It's a real honor to have you join our team, and we're sad to see Melissa go, but we appreciate the extra time she gave here to the commission. Brian, would you like to say anything? Introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Brian. I think I know a lot of people here, and maybe not everybody, but I'm really excited to be participating on the commissioner, and I know I have some big shoes to fill, but hopefully I can bring my own insight and things. I just got here full-time from Rhode Island. For people who don't know, I've been coming back and forth from Rhode Island to Bluff for about 5 or 6 years. And so I'm really excited to be here permanently and starting my life here with my wife. So look forward to it. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thanks, Brian. And you're now a voting commissioner, so you're welcome to motion, second, vote yay, nay, or abstain. And you and I will be meeting next week to go through kind of getting you on board. We have a whole onboarding document, as Malia knows, with lots of reading.
Look forward to it. We've got a lot of reading to do.
Awesome. Let's move to agenda item 4, which is an update on Melissa's temporary commission position. So, Miss Melissa, with a big thanks, we now relieve you of your temporary planning and zoning commissioner position. So you don't even have to stay the rest of the meeting if you don't want to, or you're welcome to listen in. And you no longer have to do any voting duties this evening. So
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure, like I said earlier, but I'll definitely listen in tonight and let me know in the future where I can help out. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Melissa. Okay, now let's go to agenda item 1 under old business, which is update from town council.
Okay, I can give that. We had a special meeting since your guys' last meeting and the last update that Aaron gave you all. We had one special meeting, and that was mostly, we've got an airport, out at the airport, there's a hangar that's been abandoned and, well, sort of abandoned, and we extended him 30 more days to get rid of it. And at that time, then the town will be advised on what we can do with it. But it's that was part of the special meeting. And then there's a Bears Ears Marathon that is being sponsored by Blanding and Bluff. They want us to be part of that, and it'll end in Bluff, start in Blanding and end in Bluff. So there was some discussion on that. And then there's flooding concern because of all the snow melt. Our concern would be down the river if that came up, but it has a pretty big floodplain, so there's not a whole lot of concern in Bluff. But the county wanted us to address that. And then on the 24th was our long-awaited workshops for Bike Utah, and they were very well received and a lot of interest. A lot of people came, lots of positive input. We had the one at the school, then the one with the government officials and the local organizations, and then one with the residents. And we had lots of people at all of those. Our partners, I just want to let you know that we've got a big partner group. The Bob sent people, Friends of Cedar Mesa did, the Fort, BCHPA, you guys had a representative. UNHS had one, Mark Maryboy joined. We had County Economic, Elaine Gisler, and the Administrator, Mac McDonald, joined us. Safe Routes to School joined us. The Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation joined. And so did our 3 UDOT people, 2 from the planning offices. Chris Hall and Heidi Gohart are both planners for our region. And then the head guy, Jared Beard, also is online. So we had online and in person, but we had lots and lots of our partners show up for that. And there's a lot of support and lots of money out there now. So we'll be in good shape. He plans to have the plan done by August. And that Active Transportation Committee is the focus group to help edit that with him. And so we'll be working on that once a month through the next few months. But that was a big set of stuff. And then last night, we pretty much, things that would apply to you, I think are of interest. We did swear in Brian for P&Z, which was awesome. We welcomed him. And then the CDBG grant that we were working on at the community center to redo those offices and make a new entry and whatnot, decided to not do that and use some of the ARPA money in place of that and do a more minor revision and then focus on the old school instead of that big project. And so going to let CDBG go on that. And Aaron, did I miss anything else? Because last night I didn't see, it's just all the updates of what we've been talking about. Nothing that's, we are moving ahead on the Sunrise Engineering on the water rights. There was some hold up there on whether or not that would mess up our dating of our water rights. And our attorney looked it up and sent somebody researching that, and we're good to go. Good to go on that. So that's a pretty cool. Oh, and then sorry, the asbestos testing. We're doing asbestos testing at the old school because at this point, up till now, there hasn't been any disturbance of anything, but what we're looking at is taking down the tile in the ceiling, and that would be disturbing of parts. So we're going to get that asbestos tested to make sure we're clear before we move it, or you do it properly if it shows up positive. So, or negative, I would like to say, but anyway. But yeah, so now, Aaron, was there anything else?
No, the very fashionable bags under my eyes are certainly from that asbestos situation, and applying for a grant through the EPA we're hoping to receive $1 million to do renovations on the CCC building. So that grant application will be going in next week. And, I know that's really a good topic for the community to talk about in terms of what we want to see that building used for. And that ties in really well with what we're doing with strategic planning as well. So just lots of good initiatives going on at the town level. And, we certainly appreciate your participation and things like the active transportation workshops and things like that. So thank you all.
And just to follow up on that strategic planning, the final presentation is at the end of the month, April 27th. So these are all little initiative groups that are working on parts and pieces to pull together a strategic plan for the next 5 to 7 years. And it's all based off of the general plan, but it's more specific on what we're working on. So. Questions? Sorry, that was a little not as organized as I like it, but
no problem. Thanks. Any questions? Okay.
Alrighty.
We'll move on to item 2 under old business, which is an update on signage enforcement for signs that did not go through the planning and zoning sign permitting process. So as we discussed at the last meeting, the Twin Rocks put up a large billboard sign on the side of 191, and that was done without a sign permit process. So I believe I talked to the mayor, and the mayor is going to send the owners of the sign a letter saying they need to submit a sign permit application through us, and then we can decide if that sign is allowable under our code and then how to proceed from there. So that is the update on that. Any questions on that sign? Okay. Yeah, just a reminder to folks listening, we have a really easy sign permit application form on our website that you would fill out if you're planning on putting up a commercial sign. Okay. Last item under old business 5 is trainings, updates, and information from Erin. Erin, go ahead.
Yeah, so this was brought to my attention because Marcia had forwarded me an email regarding some training. It does look like for planning and zoning specifically, I don't know if other people received that email as well regarding recorders training, but that wouldn't be applicable in your position. However, there are annual trainings that we need you all to complete, which includes the Open and Public Meetings Act, which most of you have already done. Brian will be in touch. And then we'll also have you do ethics training and cybersecurity training, but those are not anything that is, like super urgent or pressing. It's just annual trainings that we go through. So we'll get kind of you all back to a regular cycle with that. And then you go to your regular planning and zoning emails. Brian, I asked for yours today, so you can start receiving official communications in that way. But at this time, just to close out this item, I don't have any immediate trainings that I need anyone on your commission to complete.
Thanks, Erin. And I have a related update, which is today, Mayor Lepinen sent around a recording of the Utah League of Cities and Towns recent webinar on the latest Utah State legislative session. And it's like an hour-and-a-half update on all of the land use management changes they've made. And it's super, super applicable to the zoning work that we do. It has implications for affordable housing or general plans. So I'd like to ask everybody, in a mandatory fashion, to please review that webinar before the next meeting, because we'll likely be discussing if there's any changes we need to put in place with our existing ordinances. So Brian, I'll make sure you get a copy of that.
I did. I actually did get a copy of it. I just wasn't able. I was not able to open it.
Okay, I will
Out of that.
look into that. Any questions about that or questions for Erin? Okay. Moving on to new business, item 6, we did not have any land use clearance applications to review tonight. So we'll move on to item 7. Sandy Mailliard is joining us with some questions about a commercial property. So Sandy, if you're able to unmute and join us, why don't you tell us a bit about what you're thinking and what your questions are for us this evening?
Okay, I think I unmuted, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Way to go. Okay, so I am the unwitting new owner of a piece of commercial property, which I think you know, in the middle of town, across from Recapture, with a lovely restaurant on it that is functioning and doing really, really well. It's the rest of the property trying to figure out what to do at the moment, pretty much just doing cleanup. I don't know whether you can help me with this. I was looking at the property descriptions. Apparently there are 2 parcels. I have 2 different numbers. I haven't seen a tax return yet. I mean, a tax bill yet, but it says I have 2 parcels. Because I know one of the questions that everybody apparently who's owned that property has always asked whether or not they could divide that property. It is, and I'm not in a hurry. I would do the homework to find out if it's possible. I don't need to do that right now, but it's under an acre, and I think it's like 0.95 of an acre. And my understanding is that you guys don't allow division of properties unless it's an acre or more, right?
So our code allows for the partition of properties, but the minimum property size of the newly divided parcels has to be 0.5 acre.
Okay,
So
so then
I
can do that, it won't work. And as I said, that was just a curiosity question, I don't think it's gonna influence the property at all. So you can't give me any information about the parcels, that's probably something I need to go to Monticello and ask about?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So the other thing was just to ask what I can or cannot do with the property, and there's some pretty amazing ideas that have gone around. If it was historical usage, does that mean it's still, do I have to apply? So things like turning the gas station into nonprofit office space. Do I have to ask anybody's permission to do that? Or turning the garage space into an art center. Do I have to ask anybody's permission to do that?
So great questions. And I'm going to show a map really fast just to make sure we're talking about your property, but I believe your property is zoned commercial 2.
What does commercial 2 mean?
Well, I'll explain that in a second. So is your property in between 4th and 5th on Main Street?
Luann, help me out.
Yeah, so she is between 3rd and 2nd, so it's purple. So it's the C3. It's that strip there. Blue is the C2.
So I'm C3.
Yeah, you're in the C3 purple.
Okay,
Right. Yep.
I got it. I'm the same as you, right?
Yep. Yeah, that strip. And then the middle stretch at the zoning time was done a lighter commercial to protect that historic residential area.
Okay.
But that part where it went commercial on down, and the south side is all C3.
Okay.
Thanks, Luann. So our zoning ordinance, which I can send you the link to, Sandy, if you'd like afterwards, that describes what can be allowed in commercial 1, commercial 2, commercial 3.
Okay.
With commercial 3, you can do all of the uses in commercial 1 and commercial 2 and commercial 3. So that means gas station, offices, galleries, fitness clubs, museums, hotels. So what you've described so far with a gallery and professional office spaces, those would definitely be allowed in that space.
So then, I don't know whether there actually ever was an RV park there, even though they advertised an RV park. The stanchions are put in. It's pretty funny. There's water and septic and telephone. There's no electric on those stanchions, but a dream or a thought would be to put tiny houses back there for workforce housing.
Let's see. Recreational vehicle parks are allowed in commercial 3 districts.
Okay.
Do folks have thoughts on that? And as are lodging establishments. Am I reading that correctly, folks? Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead. Malia, were you going to say something?
I was just going to agree with you. It is an under C3 as recreational vehicle parks. So that is correct. And lodging establishments, you got it.
Yeah. So I think Sandy, the big thing you'll want to pay attention to is setbacks along the back of the property and the sides as well. But you have fixed setbacks with commercial, and so those will be a limiting factor in developing an RV park. Let's see. Erin, go ahead.
I hadn't noticed this before, but I see under commercial C3 district, again, I had not noticed this before. It says minimum lot size shall be 3/4 of an acre.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that would mean partitioning the parcels would have to be at least 3/4 of an acre. So
that won't work either. That's fine. It was just information. Okay, I will So will the setbacks be explained in the commercial 3 document?
Yep, they
Okay.
are under that. It's 50 feet from the front right of way, which your building is probably not in compliance with that, but since it's an existing building, that's what it is. But if you're going to do any like structural changes to that, you'll need to come to us to talk about grandfathering and compliance with setbacks.
Okay.
If you were to say like add one add to that, and then your side and rear bound setbacks are 15 feet. Luann, go ahead.
And just a question, so is the south side is the front, the back side is the north? I see, yes, Erin's nodding her head. Okay, got it.
And Luann had a question, but you were mute. Luann, you're still muted. Sorry.
Okay, there you go. So just on your housing idea, that was not allowed before, but it's been recently changed to allow residential and commercial. And so it used to be just one single family, but that has changed. So
Okay. And the idea, I mean, it's just in the tiny little beginnings of ideas, but my understanding is tiny homes are actually vehicles. They're not, it's not housing. I mean, like you don't have to have a permit. You're actually registered with the DMV. Oh, and speaking of that, can I remove that trailer without permission, the one that exists on the property? I don't need you guys to say that's okay or not okay.
Correct. Yeah, you don't.
Okay.
We don't have a say over removal or like demolition or things like that.
Oh, great. Okay.
With the tiny home question, I think in our ordinance we define them as either permanent, like a fixed, or non-permanent, and so I think that might speak to whether or not it's an RV park or dwellings. We haven't had, well, I guess we've had one tiny house proposal in the past, but since both dwellings and RVs are allowed in C3.
Okay, they're both allowed. Okay. Well, pretty much that was what I was, yeah, that was all I was gonna check out. You've answered my questions.
Alrighty, any follow-up thoughts or questions for Sandy?
I just want to say thank you for doing the work that you're doing over there and getting it alive and going. It's awesome to see.
Well, thanks, Luann.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, we're really excited. And if you have questions about land use clearances, if you have a need for those in the future, just let us know. And we have all sorts of forums and resources on our webpage. So,
Wait, what do you mean land use clearances? We've been doing a lot of tree trimming and stuff. Is that a land use clearance? I mean, some truckloads so far.
No, so land use clearance is required. It's the precursor to a building permit that you would get at the San Juan County, and so it's required for structural changes, like in like remodeling of structural nature or new building or additions.
Well, I appreciate your patience. I have a lot to learn here about commercial buildings and being an owner, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Yep, thank you.
Alrighty, let's move on to RV ordinance discussion, and I believe Malia is going to share some thoughts and musings that she and Marcia have been working on.
Do you have access to the document? Are you able to pull it up, or can I share my screen?
I think you can share your screen. Go ahead.
Okay, I've never shared a screen before, so this is going to be really exciting, guys. Wow, this is so fancy. Wait for it. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Nice.
So this actually is working out really well. This kind of leads, that previous conversation kind of leads us into what Marcia and I were beginning to discuss. So it was a very beginning of a discussion, and we took two different RV ordinances from a couple of different towns and just kind of picked and choosed and threw some things in there that we thought were important. So I want everyone to know that this is a draft and everything is up for discussion and nothing is set in stone. So if there is something that you don't like, if there's something that you want more clarification on, please, please, please let me know. This is a live and working document that I would like all of us to be a part of. So feel free to pull up other towns' RV ordinances and go from there. So they will start at the title. I don't know how much time you want me to take on this, so I'll just start with the title because we were talking about recreational vehicles and their parking and their storage. And then we started to get into the discussion of we are also going to have a mobile home potential. There's also tiny home potentials as the discussion of affordable housing is coming up more and more. And so we determined that there is the potential that we could combine this RV as well as mobile vehicle park, or yeah, RV and mobile home park basically together so that we could kind of make this easier for all of us. One ordinance, couple of different things. So our purpose, we're regulating the use of recreational vehicles within city limits, promoting public safety, minimizing the environmental impact, and also facilitating construction because we're not trying to inhibit people from living in Bluff and living in an RV as they construct their home. We want this to still be open. It's just for someone living in a driveway for way too long, or the vehicles that are pulling over on the side of the road and parking and us not knowing what they're doing with their waste. So just a little bit more regulation of what exactly is going on and what how to regulate it. So anything in red, I believe I've shared this with everyone. Probably not you yet, Brian, but I will also share this with you so that we can type and we can play with this ordinance as we go. So we determined that so we'll just go with the local health officer, a health officer that would be employed or officially representing the town. So someone that we would determine is the inspector, because we are trying to promote safety and health, because we don't want people, like I said, dumping their gray or their black water, especially, just anywhere and everywhere. Gross. So we went through definitions and then also talked about defining, bringing in mobile home, tiny home, modular home. Like I said, trying to combine that into this ordinance. I want to pause right here. What are thoughts on that? Anyone have any yays, nays to including the mobile home, tiny home, modular home in with this? Or have I not given enough information yet?
I think I'd like to see the whole ordinance first and then maybe weigh in on that or think about it before the next meeting or something.
Okay. Sounds good. So we took the idea, location and use. No vehicle shall be located, placed, used, or occupied in any district except for the ones that are approved based on what we were just looking at which of the zones they are allowed in. And all of the things in red, the numbers are up for discussion of how many nights that we may want an RV to be parked on a residential street or alley, on the right-of-ways, discussing using them as storage sheds, being at a residence for X number of days. I did have an idea on that one that we could potentially say 14 days so that we could stick with what it is on BLM. So 14 days in your best friend's driveway and then 14 days out in Butler Wash and, things to grow on. And then also to bring up the discussion of non-functioning RVs. What do we want to do with those? Discussing mobile or recreational vehicle parks, what affordable housing in one. So if we would want to do a recreational vehicle park. So maybe this could be for a new one. If we would want it to be one of the ordinances said that it as B is within or adjacent to a mobile home park, because one of our ideas is if we have a mobile home park ordinance that includes the RVs, that we have someone who is there all the time. And so we have a manager that is there to keep the space beautiful and is there to keep people accountable for their space, but also is checking people in and out because it is also an RV park. So also keeping that person busy, that they're not becoming way too zoned in on micromanaging those that live within that mobile home park. So a nice happy balance there. So, and options, things to think about. Couple of other things. A lot of these within this section, we decided, you can see in the red, inquire with the RV owners on what they want, because I have never owned an RV park. I lived in one for a little bit, but I don't know the ins and outs of what they want. So we want to make sure that we're not micromanaging the RV owners, but also just make sure that we have a good set of rules so that if a new RV park goes in or a new owner comes, that we just have something set up. Moving right along. So this one is to edit: recreational vehicles shall not be used for living quarters except for properly designated recreational vehicle parks, except and solely limited to the following circumstance: temporary use not to exceed 14 days on an occupied residential lot by residents or guests of the residence will be permitted. And so with that one, there is, I believe, another space that says if your home is under construction, you can live in an RV. You know, a lot of mixed feelings on this one. I especially have mixed feelings on that one, but things to discuss. It's a rough draft. And then we moved on. So down here is for in commercial zones. So allowing the owner, the contractor, or the authorized agent to stay in an RV within the commercial zone during construction, but then of course having during the construction phase of a project. And so further down, we actually have how many days up for discussion, how many days in advance of construction, how many days after, just so that we don't end up with abandoned RVs after something is built. Going through the approval process. And over here, we actually started to put down how many units per acre. Once again, just something that's up for discussion. The number, this might be something that we've totally just taken from someone else with the 20 per acre.
Out of curiosity, Malia, is there anything like number per residential acre, or is it for all acres?
So that was actually under, that was in residential zones.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that was, yeah, thank you. Good question. So that's in a residential zone. And then I believe we have a separate number, or we can add a separate number under commercial zones, depending on the size of the project, of course. So application standards. So, okay, here it is. So here is where we're talking about development plan for the recreational vehicle park. And quite a bit of it we were talking about would also, we could copy and paste quite a bit of this into a development plan for a mobile home, tiny home, modular park. Things such as some of the spaces on the south side of town that could potentially become mobile home parks, or Even this new property that's has a new restaurant on it and that space there. So yeah, really hoping Marsha would take this over. She's been a lot of the brains on this. But anyways, what you guys say?
And first of all, thanks for like spending so much time to make something that is so comprehensive and thought out and organized. Because I think it's a lot easier for us to work off of something existing and add our own changes and everything. So thank you. And of course, if we just like totally change a lot next meeting, please don't take anything personally, which I know you and Marsha won't. You basically made something that we could start kind of throwing darts at and brainstorm. So I think I actually haven't seen this. So would you mind resending it to folks? And since Brian's new too, I think we should save most of our substantive comments for next time when we can all really dig in and put our thoughts in with suggested edits or comments. But any commissioners right now have any thoughts they want to share about this?
Yeah, the only thing that was coming to my mind was about the use of trailers and RVs on people's properties for things like Airbnb and stuff. I don't know if that's covered in there or like how that might slide in, but like I think it's more time of the document though. This is a random thought.
Is that in there, Malia? Do you know?
I'm not sure if it's actually in there, but I believe that would also be covered under the short-term rental. And so it's probably important to put this in there as well. So I'll make a note of that as extra comments, things to look into. Great tip.
Malyssa or Ed, anything you'd like to share today before we dig into it more at a future meeting?
I'm not sure that I get to weigh in, but I just want to thank you for putting the work in, Malia. I know this is really important work. This looks like a great start.
Yay. Thanks. So how about, so for homework, let's all, spend like a good hour on this, like starting to suggest things in suggested mode if possible. And we can review it at our next meeting. Timeline wise, I don't think this is necessarily something that needs to be rushed, but it is something that will go to public comment, and that'll be the time for public citizens to weigh in. But in talking with the mayor today, with all the legislative changes that have happened with planning and zoning at the Utah state level, there might be a need for the town to have like a broader public hearing this summer if we have to change any ordinances. So it may be that we want to time this ordinance with a summer public hearing if that is to happen. So just putting that out there for folks. Any questions, concerns, thoughts about that?
Nice to have a deadline maybe to work towards if we decide summer is when we want to do that. Might put that date in there so that we have a date to work, that we want to have it done.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Any final thoughts before we move on? Okay. Next on our agenda is item 9 is scheduling a renewable energy work session with town council. As a reminder, that was the idea of getting together with the town council and the lawyer to think about what are the ways in which we can proactively zone for things like solar and wind in Bluff in an appropriate way. We didn't schedule one yet, mostly because it seems like the town council and general town community members are really busy with active transportation, strategic planning, grant writing, and now potentially like we have to look at the general plan and stuff. So if it's okay with you folks, I just suggest we table this for a couple of weeks or months, but still leave it on the radar for 2023. Does that sound okay to everybody?
I love that. That's a great idea. Let's definitely do that.
Okay. Moving on, item 10 is items for our next agenda. So anybody have anything they'd like to see on our next agenda for April 19th?
So I guess our RV ordinance homework,
Yeah.
and then the webinar that Anne had sent out today. I did click on the link and it is telling me that the webinar is over and I cannot register. So if you figure out how to get into that, if you could also send me the link,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Put a star next to that. Yeah, we could do a game plan for that.
And this is Luann. I've got the same problem on the one that came to me. If you didn't click on it live, not sure how to get there.
Okay. I'm sure we can get a recording from Utah League of Cities and Towns. So, okay. RV ordinance webinar update and next steps, and maybe an update on sign enforcement, and otherwise just probably the standard old things. Sound good to folks? Okay. All right. Moving on, our last item on the agenda is other. Do we have any others from commissioners or Luann or Aaron? Nope. All right. Well, folks, it looks like we're going to be able to adjourn early this evening, unless there's anything else. But barring none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I can second that.
Nice. Okay. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ed, are you able to unmute? I think it's star. Yeah, there you go. *6. Can't hear you. I guess Ed will just mark you as an abstain. Sorry for the technology problems again. With that, meeting is adjourned at 5:50. Or sorry, my computer's on Arizona time. 6:50 p.m.